to the Metrodome in Minneapolis for the third game in a four-game series between the New York Yankees and the Minnesota Twins. The Yankees with the best record in baseball and an 8-game winning streak on top by 10 over Baltimore in the American League East, and the Twins are last in the American League's Central Division. And welcome to Minneapolis. I'm Al Michaels along with Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver. And Tim, the big story, of course, is still off the field. Are there 6 days left in the season? Are there 8 weeks left in the season, or something in between? What do you think?
I think there's something in between. I don't believe that there's any way to avoid a strike. However, I do believe that the season, if it's not settled by September 15th, I think that there will be no postseason play, but I do think that there's still ample time for a settlement.
If there's no postseason play, Jim Palmer, that will be particularly frustrating for the New York Yankees, who are playing about as well as a team can play right now.
Certainly are. Their record 69-38. 3.5 weeks ago, their lead was only a half a game over the Orioles. Since then, they played 22 games. They've won 19. 19-3. They've averaged 7 runs a game, and they have, as far as I'm concerned, the best prepared team in the American League, and that goes because of Buck Showalter. He's done an outstanding job as their manager.
And tonight they send a hot pitcher to the mound, a man who has won his last 6 decisions. Melito Perez will be on the mound for the Yankees. Pat Mahomes working for Minnesota. Back here in a minute. Right now, let's check in with John Saunders.
Studios here on ABC. I am John Saunders. We'll get you out to the game in just a moment. But first, the news: the baseball strike is now less than a week away. In fact, there are no talks scheduled until Monday. They won't even talk about money. They won't get to the salary cap issue until Wednesday. There was baseball on the field today. The Cleveland Indians, an 8-4 loser in game number 1 of a doubleheader in Boston. So the American League Central standings look like this. Cleveland now a half game back. Kansas City just a game back. In the wild card race, one of the top 3 teams will be in the playoffs by virtue of winning the Central. Kansas City has won 14 games in a row. In the National League Central, Cincinnati up 2 over Houston. The Reds hosting Atlanta. Houston hosting San Francisco. The wild card race looks like this. Atlanta chasing Montreal in the East, but they have a 2-game lead in the wild card race. We will get out to your game after this ABC News Brief and a word from your ABC stations.
Crowd still filing into the Metrodome in downtown Minneapolis. Should have about 30,000. And they'll watch Pat Mahomes on the mound. He's coming off probably his best outing of the season, though he lost to the Baltimore Orioles on Monday. He led the Pacific Coast League in earned run average last season at Portland, splitting the year between Portland and the Twins. He'll face this lineup tonight. The first 5 Yankees are hitting better than 300. Polonia, then Boggs, and O'Neill, who leads the league, hitting 3rd. Noakes, Mattingly, and Mike Stanley with 4 runs batted in last night. And then Bernie Williams, Mike Gallego, and Pat Kelly. The Yankees, a perfect road trip so far. Won all 3 in Milwaukee and have taken the first 2 games in this series here. So we're underway. Luis Polonia leads off for the Yankees. Grounds one into center field for a base hit. So the team with the best batting average in the majors off and running again. The Yankees hitting .291 collectively as we take a look at the Twins defensively.
Chuck Knobloch is highlighted because he was an all-star second baseman, made the all-star team again, and he's made only 3 errors this year. Some unfamiliar names: Chip Hale at 3rd, Pat Meares at shortstop, and there's Chuck Knobloch. He is some player.
Wade Boggs hitting .350, so he has a chance to win a batting title because his teammate O'Neill is leading at .359. Boggs has won 5 batting championships in his stellar career, including 4 in a row with Boston. And the next pitcher's in for a strike. 2 years ago, he had the bad year with the Red Sox, the only time he's been under 300, and a lot of people thought he was over the hill. Then last year, barely above 300, and right now he's back to being the Boggs that the Red Sox came to know so well in the 80s.
Well, I had a chance to pitch against him, and it's funny, Mike Boddicker, who went on to have a great career, came out of AAA, and I said, how do you get Wade Boggs out? He said, hope that he hits a line drive at somebody, and that's the type of hitter he has been. 11 of 12 years over 300, .335 lifetime batting average.
in there. And the count is 1-2. Polonia at first base, leading the Yankees in stolen bases with 19. Last year, the Yankees, as you'll recall, last in the majors, and you can see how far off the line Hale is at third. The Yankees collectively stole only 39 bases all season, so they went into the free agent market, tried to get Ricky Henderson, but he remained with Oakland and settled for Polonia instead.
It's unusual that Wade Boggs hits a lot of balls the other way, and yet the third baseman is off the line. Buck Showalter telling me last night that when Boggs hits a line drive the other way, it's between the shortstop and third baseman or to the left of the shortstop.
And Boggs hits it in the air the other way to left field and down into the corner and foul ground. Mack on the run makes the catch. Had to keep one eye on the bullpen mound as he came across the line. So they get Boggs on a foul fly to left for the first out, and O'Neill comes up.
A fine play by Shane Mack, and did a game a couple of weeks ago, and you were talking about how dangerous, Al, those mounds are. Because especially here in the Metrodome, we did the World Series in '87. If you're an outfielder, you really can't take your eye off the ball because you lose it in the white ceiling. So when you're running over, very easy to trip over those mounds.
Paul O'Neill, who was flirting with the 400 mark through June, as Polonia is sent scurrying back. Herbeck holding him on. But Paul went into a slump, emerged from that, another slump, and now he's hot again and leads the league at .359. So much has been made with so many of the marks in jeopardy, in particular in regard to home runs. And there is the, well, we'll take a look at the Twins batting order when they come up. But one of the things that has sort of gotten lost in the shuffle is Tony Gwynn, who leads the National League in hitting right now at .390. So here's a guy in early August with a legitimate shot at 400.
And Tony Gwynn's won 4 batting titles already. Tony Gwynn entering tonight's play with a .390 average, and if he goes 12 for his next 20, it will be at 400.
So he can do that too, and you
Yes,
know,
he can.
anybody's ever seen him play, as you look at those numbers.
Inside.
You know, Al, you mentioned Pat Mahomes coming off a very tough loss to Arthur Rhodes of the Orioles on Monday night, but he came up last year, and then talking to Dick Such, the pitching coach, has a good arm. Fastball around 90 miles per hour, the curveball, the slider, and the changeup, but he has to get the ball down and throw a lot of off-speed pitches. And we talked about how prepared the Yankees are, no doubt. Ronnie Hansen, the advanced scout, telling him, and you can see right here, trying to keep Polonia from getting a running start. Mahomes at 6'4", he's been a couple of slide steps already, trying to get to home plate quick, and we'll show you what that really is as the game progresses. But you can't let the runner get a big lead.
2-0 to O'Neill is foul back, and the count is 2-1. First inning, no score. Polonia at first base and 1 out as the Yankees seek their 9th consecutive win.
When we talk about a big lead, if you're a pitcher, what you want to do is recognize that lead. And normally when you see that runner with a foot or two, sometimes good runners, aggressive runners, get both feet on the carpet. Now that's a good lead.
Well, it depends on where you're going when you take the lead. A very quick spin move by Mahomes. You could see Polonia leaning towards second base. Some base runners would like to take a shorter lead and be leaning towards second. Have their momentum going the other way. Maury Wills used to take a one-way lead. He was actually farther off of first base, but he was intent on diving back to the bag.
Now it's 3-1, so let's see if they send Polonia, and they do, and O'Neill drills one to deep right center field, and the league's leading hitter has hit one into the upper deck for his 20th home run of the year. And Tom Kelly's been watching this for 3 consecutive nights. The Yankees off and running again, 2-0.
Well, we talked about holding Polonia to first base. He ran the count, talking about Pat Mahomes to 3-1. 3-1 fastball right down the middle. O'Neill looks for it, gets it. And when you're hitting 359, that usually means to me as a former pitcher, you're seeing the ball well. Right here, he has to throw a strike because of the 3-1 count.
I think your point's well taken, Jim. Diverting the attention and too much attention to Polonia allowed O'Neill to get a good pitch to hit.
Now Noakes takes a strike. O'Neill last year hit 20 home runs, so he's equaled that mark. His career high, 28, as a Red in 1991. 2-0, 1 out, bases empty, and with the shortstop Mears on the right field side of second, the count is 0-2. Noakes a dead pull hitter, so only Hale, the third baseman, is between second and third. And look at Knobloch.
Short right. It's like a softball game on the right side.
0-2 to Noakes. Got him swinging. So Matt Noakes down on 3 pitches, and that'll bring up Don Mattingly.
Yeah, that gives you a pretty good illustration of what happens when you get ahead in the count. 2 strikes, no balls. Noakes got to protect the plate. Mahomes throws the high fastball to a low fastball hitter. Perfect pitch. And gets the strikeout.
2 out, bases empty, and Don Mattingly is a batter. Mattingly has been a fixture in the number 3 spot, but recently Buck Showalter moved him down into the 5 spot, and last night had him hitting 6th, though he doesn't preclude the possibility that Mattingly could get back into the 3 spot. But for right now, he likes O'Neill hitting 3rd and Mattingly hitting 5th.
That's an indication of how strong the Yankees are. They have 3 hitters that could hit into the number 3 hole. Boggs, Mattingly, O'Neill.
Here he is, Buck Showalter. His club averaging 7 runs a game since the All-Star game. He can make up any lineup.
In his 3rd year, and he's pushing all the right buttons. One-two to Mattingly is fouled back. The thing about Don that's gotten a lot of attention recently with the Yankees doing so well is that he is perhaps the best player in baseball at the moment never to have played in a postseason game. And here he'll have a golden opportunity, but it may go by the boards if the players go on strike and the postseason is wiped out. He has played 1,652 games, counting tonight's game, without appearing in a postseason game. The only active player who's played in more would be Julio Franco, who's playing with the White Sox, and he has a great chance to wind up in postseason for the first time this year. One ball, 2 strikes.
Don Mattingly, a lot different hitter than he was in the mid-'80s when he could hit the 30, 35 home runs. More of a line drive, contact hitter, high average hitter.
Off speed, grounded, wide of first, and Herbeck flipped to Mahomes for the out. The side retired, but the Yanks get 2 on the O'Neill homer. After a half, New York 2, the Twins coming up. Paul O'Neill and Melito Perez, who has won 6 straight, on the mound tonight, 9-3. It equals the longest winning streak of his career. He also won 6 in a row in 1991 as a member of the Chicago White Sox, working out of the bullpen that season. And here's the lineup tonight for the Twins. Chuck Knobloch, who leads the majors in doubles with 43 leads off, and Alex Cole. Kirby Puckett, the DH, hits 3rd. Ken Herbeck playing his final season. He announced his retirement at the end of the year the other day. Shane Mack, and then Chip Hale hit 6th. Pedro Munoz is in right field. Matt Walbeck is the catcher. Pat Mears, the shortstop, batting 9th.
And the Yankee defense, Don Mattingly with 8 gold gloves. We highlighted him. I mean, he is the strength, but the middle infielders, Gallego and Pat Kelly, they lead the American League in double plays turned. Outstanding defense, 5th in fielding in the American League.
Chuck Knobloch having a great year, hitting .310, and with 43 doubles has a chance to set a major league mark in that category as he takes a strike. The all-time major league record for doubles is 67, set by Earl Webb, an outfielder with the Red Sox, in 1931. The season is exactly at the 2/3 mark for the Twins, and he's on a pace that would give him 64. So Knobloch right there in terms of that mark. But again, everything with an asterisk right now because of the impending strike. Another guy is Larry Walker of Montreal, with Knobloch leading the American League at 43. Walker has 44. Hit to center field and right into the glove of Bernie Williams for the out. 1-up and 1 down, and Alex Cole is the batter. Baseball Night in America is being brought to you by Lexus Luxury Automobiles, the result of a relentless pursuit of perfection. MCI, the company that brings you Proof Positive and new Clean System 3 gasoline from Texaco. Alex Cole has been the everyday center fielder, but of late he's been on the bench. He's been slumping. He's back in the lineup tonight and lays one down but foul, and the count is 0-1.
Well, if you're a player in the American League and you want to be a good offensive player and you don't hit a lot of home runs, you watch Kenny Lofton of the Indians. He bunts a lot, high on base percentage. Cole can steal if he gets on. And if you're a second hitter, that's your job. You don't hit a lot of home runs, get on for the big guys.
1-1 the count. Boggs in at third. It's hit in the air to left field, and Polonia drifts over, crossing the line into foul territory. And Cole is gone. So 2-up and 2 down in the bottom of the first inning, and Kirby Puckett comes up.
You know, as we look at Melito Perez, he's won his last 6 decisions. Control's a lot better. Control was about 4 walks per 9 inning. It's only about 2 walks per inning over the last 9 starts. Fastball, great forkball, slider, and he's got a great changeup to go with that. But the key to him is to throw enough fastballs to get ahead.
Kirby Puckett, another good year, typical Puckett type year, up over 300, a lot of runs batted in with 98. And when this season ends and Ken Hrbek retires, he'll be the last remaining member of the 1987 Minnesota Twins World Championship team. Hits one to deep left field. Polonia going back, and this one is gone. His 18th of the season.
There was the fastball from Perez, and last year this ball might not have been out of there. They have removed the plexiglass that used to go from the line in left field almost to straightaway center field.
Here's Hrbek drilling one toward the gap in right center, and Williams on the run makes a great catch. So in the inning, the Twins get 1 on the Puckett homer, and after 1, it's 2-1 Yankees.
There have been 17 home runs hit this year as a result of no plexiglass.
Mike Stanley is the batter as we start the second inning, and the count is 1-1. One of the reasons they took the plexiglass down was that they couldn't keep it clean. It got all scratched and dirty, and they couldn't sell the seats, or the people who were buying those seats in the first 2 rows were upset. You could barely see the game, and they took it down, and aesthetically it looks a lot better, and for the offense it's a lot better as well. 2-1 the count on Mike Stanley. Yankees leading 2-1 in the second inning. Lifted in the air to right field. Pedro Munoz is there. 1 gone. Let's get an update as we check in with John Saunders. John?
All right, Al, thanks a lot. We'll keep an eye on your game between the Yankees and the Twins. San Francisco and Houston. That's Barry Bonds deep to center field. It stays in the park short of the track, and Darren Lewis, though, just has to trot in to score. San Francisco 3 games behind the Dodgers, chasing 1-0 is that score in the second inning. Jose Rio of the Reds facing the Braves' David Justice in the second inning of their contest. This one tails outside, and Justice goes with it. Takes it to the opposite field. Mitchell goes back, but he can't catch up with it. The home run is solo, 1-0 the score in the second inning. The Indians and the Red Sox. Indians lost game number 1 of the doubleheader to fall a half game back of the White Sox. Carlos Baerga against Chris Nabholz here. This with 2 out in the first, a solo home run over the monster. The Indians up 1-0 in the first inning of game number 2. Right now, let's take it back to Al, Jim, and Tim.
All right, John, and Bernie Williams is the batter, and the count is 2-1 with 1 out and the bases empty in the second inning. And with a lot of the Yankees making so much noise, this guy has gotten a little lost in the shuffle, but he's quietly having a very good year, hitting .289 and doing a terrific job in center.
Oh, you saw that, catching the ball off Kent Hrbek's bat. It's an interesting thing. He missed all of spring training, or at least most of it, with a shoulder injury. And he said, I don't want to make excuses, but got off to a very, very slow start. But you have to give the Yankees credit because they were very patient because of his ability. He's still honing his skills.
3-1 is in there, and the count 3-2. Take a look at the catch he made to end the bottom of the first.
I mean, world-class speed, and he circles that ball and then just reaches down and comes up with it. You've got to be quick, and you have to have good speed to play on this surface, AstroTurf.
Because of that shoulder, he was hitting .168 on the 9th of May and .330 since then. So he's lifted his average to .289. He's a switch hitter. He's better from the other side. He's hitting .375 right-handed and .242, as you see, left-handed.
Well, part of the strength of the Yankees is that when they face a left-hander, he can lead off. So it gives him a good leadoff hitter. As you said, hitting .375. That's a, even if he doesn't walk, that's a .375 on base percentage.
3-2 to Bernie Williams is ball 4, just missing. Plate umpire tonight is Ed Hickox, with Jim McQueen at first, Ed Bean at second, Jim Joyce at third.
Tom Kelly looking at this pitch saying, where was it? And you have to wonder where it was. Certainly high enough, and as you could see from the overhead camera, enough of the plate to be called a strike.
Well, we saw that somebody at first base that may attempt to steal affected Pat Mahomes in the first. Williams with 16 steals can do the same thing. Again, seeing getting a big lead. And in defense of Pat Mahomes, first of all, if he looks young, he is. He's only 23, so he's still learning. And part of learning is, yeah, yes, you want to concentrate on the guy on first base, but you also, with a good hitter at the plate, need more concentration for him.
Mike Gallego takes a strike, and the count is 1-1.
It appears that Ed Hickox is a high ball umpire. Don't see that very often, but we saw the 3-2 low pitch to Williams be called a ball, and that high curveball Gallego thought was out of the strike zone.
1-1 with 1 out in the second, and a pitch out, and nothing happening.
Now, Timmy, I don't know about in the National League. You see a lot of NL games, but if we watch Ed Hickox, he's one of the few umpires that does not get down on one knee. You will see him very much like an older umpire style. Does not get down on the knee. He'll be more upright.
There goes Williams. The pitch is swung on and missed. The throw is right there, and they get it. So as so often happens on the pitch following the pitch out, the runner goes. He got a pretty decent jump, but Walbeck's throw is right there, and Knobloch tags him out.
Yeah, and the jump, Al, is not particularly necessary on a hit-and-run play. It's up to the hitter to put the ball in play on the ground, and the ball was foul-tipped by Gallego, but Williams was dead at second base.
Count now 3 balls and 2 strikes on Gallego. Two out, base is empty, and it's grounded to the left side, backhanded deep in the hole by Mears, and the throw pulls Hrbek off, and so Gallego is safe at first. It'll be an infield single for Mike. Hit number 3 for the Yankees.
Well, the interesting, take a look at Pat Mears' strong arm, plants his foot, and makes a strong throw. Hrbek, one of the best fielding first basemen with a swipe tag. The interesting thing, and I talked about inexperience, Mahomes threw that pitch from the stretch, even though nobody's on. So still a youngster and learning and gaining experience.
They forgot Williams was nabbed at second base. Right?
That's exactly my point.
Well, the way the Twins pitching has gone this season, they've been pitching from the stretch almost constantly. Their team ERA is 5.76. By far the worst in either league. 1-1 to count.
Matter of fact, as a team, you have to go back to 1939 when the Philadelphia Athletics, as a team, as a pitching staff, had an earned run average of 5.76. And also that same year, the St. Louis Browns had one earned run average of 6.01. 6 runs per 9 innings, and the Twins have given up almost that many this year.
Was the ball more lively that year too?
I don't know.
Was it juiced?
Had to be. Right before the war, you would think so.
Here's the 1-2 to Kelly. Called strike 3. For the Yankees again in the second after 1.5. Yankees 2, Twins 1.
You've got customers who demand information to command.
Driving one down the line and into the corner. And Mack, who comes into the game hitting .316, tacks on another point or two with a double.
Well, great pitch to hit a high slider. I'm sure Perez didn't want to get it there, but Max said thank you very much. And on AstroTurf fields, and you mentioned it earlier, I think you have to bunch people. And if you make hanging sliders and they hit them in the corners, they're going to be extra base hits.
Now Chip Hale the batter, taking low and inside, ball 1. 1 to go the count. Mack at second and nobody on the bottom of the second. 2-1 Yankees.
Excuse me. I think that's one thing that the artificial surface has done. It's changed outfield alignment. You can't play straight away on the rug as much as you can on natural turf. You have to take away the gaps in left center and right center and try to take away the triples and the doubles. And if a guy hits one down the line, concede that that's the pitcher and the catcher's fault.
And it's clearly changed infield alignment through the years as well. AstroTurf in and grass in are two different things. And that's hit toward the gap in right center and will go all the way to the wall. Mack will score to tie the game. Hale will stop at second with a double. It's 2-2. 3 hits now for the Twins, 2 doubles and a home run.
Well, you mentioned earlier that the Yankees' first 5 hitters, all left-handers, hitting over 300. This is their best attack, talking about the Twins, the left-handed attack. Hale last year came up out of Portland where he hit .280, hit .333. He's hitting about .350 in his last 32 games. So he's been hot, and if you throw a low fastball to a left-handed hitter, he's usually going to have a good swing.
The ball down and in, and all you do for a left-hander is just drop the head of the bat on it.
Hale at second and nobody out, and Pedro Munoz comes up. Munoz sees a lot of action. Tonight he's in right. Last night he was in left. There has been some talk of perhaps moving him to first base with Herbeck retiring as he grounds one toward Boggs and looks the runner back and throws him out. So Munoz is gone, but Tom Kelly didn't sound very optimistic about Munoz's chances of playing first base in the future. One down and Matt Walbeck comes up. The Twins have had almost no productivity from their catchers this year, quite in contrast to the Yankees, who've gotten great years out of Stanley and Leyritz and Noak since he's come off the DL. Walbeck hitting .198. And Minnesota catchers have combined for a .192 batting average this season. And that is the lowest average by any position on any major league team except the National League pitchers, of course.
And talking to Matt, not happy with his offensive production. He's throwing about 40% of the runners that try to steal, calling a good game, but it's hard to tell that when your pitching staff is struggling.
He hits one to center field. He hit it on the nose, and Williams nearly misjudges it. Goes back to make the catch, and then Hale forgot to tag up at second at the crack of the bat. Hale should have tagged up and would have advanced to third relatively easily, and instead he is still at second with 2 down.
It's not as important to play. Had there been nobody out, then it's a very big play to get to third base with 1 out. But you're right, he broke toward third, and then by the time he got back to second base, the catch was already made. Too late to go to third.
And that has Tom Kelly muttering to himself, and Kelly has a lot of things to mutter about the way the Twins have played, especially over the last 6 weeks. Mears, the number 9 hitter, takes outside, ball 1. Minnesota started the year very cold, then they got extremely hot through about the end of May, and it's been pretty dismal since.
Yeah, 12 and 33.
Real dismal.
That'll keep you up at night.
One and one the count.
Well, we had a chance to do the World Series here in '87, and you know, if you know Tom Kelly, I think he's probably the perfect manager for this kind of team, because there's a saying in baseball, you never want to get too high or too low, and that's the type of guy. Great respect, knows how to do the game, and in a small market team, they're going to be a cyclical type of ball club.
In the dirt and blocked by Stanley, and they've won 2 World Championships in the last 8 years, counting this season. 87, 91, 87 beating the Cardinals in 7, and in 91 Kelly took them to a 7-game win over the Atlanta Braves.
Small market team. The Yankees, on the other hand, haven't won since 1981. And they're one of the wealthiest franchises in sports, not only baseball, sports.
It's slowly to the right side, and Kelly throws him out to retire the side. The Twins get 1 in the second to tie it. After 2-2.
If you were to take every article, every review,
Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver. Yankees and Twins. Game tie 2-2. We start the 3rd inning with the top of the Yankee order. Luis Polonia, Wade Boggs, and Paul O'Neill. Polonia started the game with a single and scored on the home run by Paul O'Neill. And that's hit on a line to the shortstop. Mears for the out. So 1 up and 1 down in the 3rd, and Wade Boggs comes up. Baseball Night in America is being brought to you by Toyota and their full line of quality cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me. By Budweiser, Beechwood Age for a crisp, clean, classic taste. And Goodyear, number 1 in tires. Wade Boggs fouled out in the 1st inning. 1-0 to count. Mahomes misses upstairs. 2 balls and no strikes. Tim was talking about the Yankees and their revenue as we went to commercial in the 2nd inning. Clearly they have led the majors in gross revenues, especially with their local television contract, and yet this is a team that has not played a postseason game in 13 years, as Boggs walks on 4 pitches. And the Twins, a small market team with very good management. Carl Pohlad bought the team in 1984. They brought the young Amy McPhail in to become the general manager, and he has guided this team to 2 World Championships.
It's amazing. A couple of years ago, Yankees say they could not afford to fund an instructional league team. I find that hard to believe. Didn't have enough money.
What, MSG didn't make its payment?
I don't know.
Here's O'Neill at the plate. This is what he did in the 1st inning. 20th home run of the season into the upper deck.
Well, a lot of that money, my understanding is that a lot of that money was paid to the limited partners immediately upon the signing of that contract. So maybe they don't have the money anymore.
O'Neill hits it sharply to the right side. Knobloch to Mears for 1 and back to first for a double play. A little disjointed, but it was hit so sharply they're able to turn it anyway. At the end of 2 1/2, 2-2.
introducing one of the most visually distinct automobiles.
Top of the order, Chuck Knobloch leading off, and then Cole and Puckett. Knobloch flying out to center in the 1st inning. Chuck hitting .310. Melito Perez. Foul back, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Perez with, well, several brothers who have played and are still playing professional baseball, including Pascual, who had a pretty good career with the Braves and the Yankees and other teams as well, and is now back in the Dominican Republic.
One of Melito's brothers, Dario, as a matter of fact, pitches in the Kansas City organization. And Jim, you mentioned earlier that Perez was throwing more fastballs. It was Dario that had to convince him to throw the fastball. You're using the splitter too often, and the case could be made that there are a lot of pitchers nowadays who are falling in love with that pitch and forgetting the number one, still the best pitch in baseball.
3-1 to Knobloch. Breaking ball missing. Ball 4. So Knobloch walks. First walk issued by Perez. Cole coming up. And a reminder that tomorrow here on ABC Sports, more coverage from the Goodwill Games featuring mixed team gymnastics, ice dancing, and a women's gold medal basketball game tomorrow 1:30 Eastern Time.
Well, we've already seen how maybe an attempted stolen base can affect Pat Mahomes. Knobloch with 32 steals could do the same thing to Melito Perez.
Even though it's very, very difficult to steal against this combination, Stanley behind the plate, Perez on the mound. No stolen bases. His last 11 appearances against Perez, during that time, 5 have been caught.
It's sort of an overlooked thing in regard to Mike Stanley, who's thought of in terms of offense, and he certainly provided that. But defensively, and a lot of it has to do with the fact the Yankees do a great job holding runners on. But the opposition has stolen 23 bases against Stanley, and he has thrown out the opposition 21 times. And that's the best success rate for a catcher in the American League this season.
Yeah, the league average is usually right around 30%, 29-30%. So that gives you an idea. He's close to 50%. But it all starts here, as far as I'm concerned. And again, that's going back to talking about keeping the runner close. Don't let him get a big lead. If you do, keep throwing over there. Step off the mound. Alter the way you throw. And the most important thing is give your catcher a chance to throw somebody out. How do you do that? You deliver the ball in a hurry.
Check this out, Jim. Have you ever seen a pitcher look through that slot at the runner? I've never seen that.
That's hit softly into right center, and he will fall for a base hit as Knobloch stops at second. So runners at first and second, and nobody out. Puckett coming up, and let's step back for a second and check in with John.
We will not leave you. The Marlins and the Mets here. Jose Vizcaino on second. Todd Hundley, the little bouncer to second. Brett Barbary plays it off his chest. David Segui then comes in to score easily. 1-0. The Mets have the lead. The Expos and the Phillies. Fernando Valenzuela facing Lansing. And he lifts this pitch. It starts to break down, but he still gets it out to left field. The home run as Montreal tries to pad its lead in the East. They lead the Phillies right now. 1-0 is the score. It's just been tied now by the Phillies. 1-1 is the score in the third. Seattle and Kansas City. You know, Kansas City's won 14 in a row. Seattle's not impressed. Reggie Jefferson with the double here. Soho and Fermin come in to score off Gubazov. They take a 4-0 lead over a club that hasn't lost in 2 weeks. Right now, let's go back to Al, Jim, and Tim.
Runners at first and second, and nobody out. And Puckett with a half swing comes around, and it's strike 2. 0-2. The game tied 2-2. The Twins have Knobloch at second, Cole at first, and nobody out in the bottom of the third. Puckett homered in the first inning. In lifetime, as you can see, he has destroyed Perez, hitting .500. And the home run in the first inning was his third off Melito. In the dirt and blocked by Stanley to prevent any advance.
Great play. Great play right there by Mike Stanley.
Tell you what, if I'm Melito Perez, Timmy, and you were a catcher, you know, if you're a pitcher, you expect this ball to go back all the way to the backstop. And it bounced so far. So splitter he hangs on to and bounces it, about 57 feet, 3 feet in front of home plate. You can't predict where that ball is going when it bounces that far out, can you?
No.
Here's the 1-2 pitch to Puckett in the dirt, and that one gets by him, and the runners will advance. Knobloch moving to third, and Cole now at second, and the count will be 2 balls and 2 strikes on Puckett with Hrbek on deck.
Fastball's on top of the catcher too quickly. A breaking ball will bounce back to the catcher, but a splitter, as you said, Jim, is unpredictable, and that proves it right there. Skips right on by Stanley. So he saves one, and one gets by.
Perez's control has been a lot better of late, but he's thrown now 6 wild pitches in his last 5 starts.
And I would imagine most of those come from the pitch we just saw, bouncing the splitters. You know, occasionally maybe getting on top of a slider and bouncing, also a tough pitch to handle if you're a catcher.
Now the 2-2 is fouled away. The Yankee infield has to play back with runners at second and third and nobody out, and the game tied in the 3rd inning.
You know, we saw that graphic, what, 24 for 43 or whatever, almost 500 lifetime. And it'd be interesting to see, and I think the reason he probably bounced those 2 pitches, he knows maybe it's not 21 for 43, but he knows Puckett hits him well. And you try to make the perfect pitch. And now the count 2-2, we'll see if he can make that pitch.
And that's in the dirt for ball 3. So a full count now with nobody out in the 3rd inning, and the Yankees and Twins tie 2-2. Herbeck, who is hitting just 161 lifetime against Perez, is on deck. So Melito facing in Puckett, a man he can't get out. And then Herbeck, he's gotten out with regularity. And it's hit to deep right field. O'Neill goes back and has to play it off to Baggy. 2 runs will score. Puckett has a double, and the Twins lead 4-2. It's 101 runs batted in now for Kirby Puckett, and Billy Connors goes to the mound.
Oh, I talked about, does he make a good pitch? A hanging either a splitter or maybe a hanging slider, and Kirby says, thank you. That's a pitch he loves to hit, something up in the strike zone. We saw him hit the fastball to the left. He hits the breaking ball to right. And that's why this guy is a lifetime 300 hitter.
And part of the reason he is such an effective hitter, it's very difficult to pitch around Kirby Puckett, because often, even though that pitch was a strike, he hits the bad balls out of the strike zone as well as he does the good balls.
That's a great point, because a lot of hitters would duck that breaking ball in that count with the strike zone coming down.
Terry Mulholland warming up for the Yankees.
Mulholland, who began the season as a starter, and Herbeck drills one to deep right field. No doubt about it. 6 rows up into the upper deck. Showalter watches his team with an 8-game winning streak, now trailing 6-2. Ken Herbeck said, I have to retire. I'm only 34. I can still hit, but it's after I hit. Well, if he hits one like this, he could play till he was 44.
Well, I tell you what, I pitched against him, and this is a familiar scene. Something that, you know, maybe not that monstrous, but in the upper deck, home run 293 lifetime. What a bomb.
Well, you wonder if Ken has a good last 2 months for the Twins, that he'll rethink retirement. He says no, but you wonder.
With Mack at the plate, the pitch is a strike. I talked to him before the game, and I said, if you feel real good next year or the year after, he said, no. He said, this is it. This is a permanent retirement. But you're right. Guys have said that before.
Especially boxers.
Hello, Alexis Arguello and Roberto Duran, huh?
They come out of retirement every other week.
What's the matter with that?
Touche. When is your next comeback, by the way?
Oh, no. But I did see Tommy John does games for the Twins. He said, I tell you, the way the left-handers barely, some of the guys they're putting out there aren't even breathing. He said, now that I have my hip, I'm going to do a comeback. It's
grounded to short, and Gallego will throw him out, and that's the first out of the inning. One down, and Chip Hale coming up.
Of course, Jim, when you attempted your comeback several years ago, it wasn't your arm, it was your leg. You had the hamstring problem.
Well, I think Tom Seaver's career ended prematurely with knee surgery. Didn't think that with the great windup he had. Speaking of arm surgery, or actually surgery, Melito Perez last year coming off shoulder surgery. Really not pitching very well tonight. Doesn't look like he has a very good fastball.
Pitch to Hale as a strike. Chip doubled in the second inning. Perez had allowed just one extra base hit in each of his last 3 starts. He comes in with a 6-game winning streak. But tonight he's given up a homer and a double to Puckett, a homer to Herbeck, and doubles to Mack and Hale.
Well, the Twins 1-4 on this homestand. They've got outscored up till tonight 35-9. You give them a chance, they're a tough offensive ball club. But if you put them out of the game early, then all of a sudden they start to have to hit home runs, and they're not really a home run hitting ball club. They're better a contact high average team.
(6-2) Minnesota. 1 out, bases empty in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Grounded down to Mattingly, and Don does it himself. 2 down in the 3rd inning, and that will bring up Pedro Munoz. Pedro 0 for 1, grounded out in the 2nd inning. Puckett with the home run. Kirby now with 101 runs batted in. As the day began, Joe Carter of the Blue Jays led the league in RBIs with 100. Albert Bell still serving that suspension with 98. Frank Thomas 97. And in the National League, it's a runaway. Jeff Bagwell had 5 more yesterday and 112 runs batted in for the season. And here it is early August, and Bagwell has already broken the Astro team record for runs batted in with 2 months to play.
Yeah, what an incredible year. You know, doing American League games, I wish that he would come over here just to see him play. I mean, the kind of year he's having.
Two and 1 the count. Two out, bases empty. 6-2 Minnesota in the 3rd.
Talking of Jeff Bagwell, a native of, I think, of Hartford, Connecticut, always a lifetime Red Sox fan. Could you imagine that swing in Fenway Park?
Well, they could have had him. They had him.
They did.
They had him.
Traded him for Larry Anderson. They needed relief help. Worked out for both clubs, but only rarely for the Red Sox.
2-2 got him swinging. But in the 3rd inning, the Twins do heavy damage. Score 4 on 3 hits and lead 6-2. Baseball Night in America returns after this from our ABC stations.
Hey, Dads, coming to ABC. Catch a night of
6-2 as they try to snap the Yankee winning streak, which has now reached 8. And it's been a perfect road trip thus far for New York as Matt Noakes starts the 4th inning by looping one foul into the seats, and the count 0-1. Noakes, Mattingly, and Stanley in the 4th. And again, the Twins playing Noakes as a dead pull hitter with Knobloch out in shallow right field. And Mears on the right field side of second. And the defense is positioned perfectly. Herbeck flips to Mahomes. 1 down in the 4th inning. And Don Mattingly coming up.
Well, when you see that kind of defense, it touches on what you talked about. Usually, it seems like you don't overplay guys. But, of course, you do overplay a full hitter. But it's very important, Tim, when you see your defense stacked, that you pitch to that defense. And that's sometimes very difficult to do.
You would think with Hale playing that far off the line that any kind of bunt, even a hard bunt, would be a base hit for Noakes. If he bunted it hard enough, it might be a double.
Illustration of the Yankees using the whole field.
That's a very important offensive point. When you face the Yankees, they are a very difficult team the defense against. A lot of spray hitters. They use all parts of the field in which to hit.
And that's a really approach that Rick Down, the hitting instructor, talks about. Look outside, cover the outside part of the plate until you get 2 strikes. Then you look for the entire plate, which is why it's so important. And again, as a pitcher, you make good pitches, and they just hit them the other way. You know, if a guy tries to pull that pitch, it's a routine grounder.
The graphic illustrating that Mattingly has almost as many hits to left field as he does to right. 3 balls, 2 strikes the count.
There's Rick Down, right behind Bernie Williams.
And Mattingly draws a walk. That is the 3rd walk issued by Mahomes, with 1 out here in the 4th inning, and it brings up Mike Stanley.
Well, you might think, well, if that's true, if they hit a lot of balls the other way, why don't more pitchers come inside on Yankee hitters? Well, they try to, but because a lot of pitchers don't throw hard enough nowadays in both leagues, it's very difficult to get an 87-mile-an-hour fastball in on the hands of any hitter. So that's another reason that the Yankees are having a very successful year and lead the majors with a team average of 291 coming into tonight's game.
To go with almost 5 walks a game. Yankees have drawn 507 walks this season in 107 games.
And those are the 2 best elements hitters can have, is to be patient and be aggressive.
2-1.
Well, that's why they lead the American League and also an on-base percentage. But to amplify your point, most pitching coach and most pitchers will tell you there is no inside strike anymore. They've taken away the belt high strike, so most of them pitch away. The Yankees look there. It really makes a lot of sense. You know, if you had the American League pitchers have the ability to do that, then you'd have to cover the whole plate. But most of them can't. A year after expansion, so they really look for their strength and they utilize it.
Ripped down the left field line. That's a fair ball. And into the corner, Shane Mack plays the carom perfectly. And they will hold Mattingly at third on a double by Mike Stanley. Mattingly rounded third, and Don stumbling back to the bag. Willie Randolph putting up the stop sign, and Mattingly saw him late.
Well, Chip Hale made a mistake there. He wandered off the bag behind third. You got to realize there's going to be a cutoff man there. That's not your responsibility. Stay on the bag. The shortstop comes over. The second baseman comes over. But look where Hale is. He's behind the bag, and had the throw gone right to him, Mattingly coming back to the bag would have been dead.
Good point. Chip Hale, not a regular third baseman, has played a lot of middle infield. So playing a little bit out of position tonight.
And Randolph holding Mattingly. You're down by 4. You're not going to take a chance in this situation with 1 out of having somebody thrown out at the plate. Williams at the plate. Infield is back except for Hale at third, and the pitch is low, ball 1, 1-0.
And we talked about the inexperience of Pat Mahomes. Your team puts 6 runs on the board, 4 in the last inning. What do? You get the first out, then you walk Mattingly, you go 3-1 on Stanley, and now you have second and third.
That's grounded to the hole and through for a base hit. Mattingly comes in to score. Stanley will be held at third, and Williams is on his way to second, and he's in there. So it is 6-3 with runners at second and third.
That is a horrible play by Pedro Munoz. There is no way at the runner from second base, Mike Stanley is going to try to score. The ball's hit sharply. You're on the rug. You're not playing him deeply. Now you miss the cutoff man. You allow Williams to go to second base. You're still 3 runs up. That's a terrible play by Munoz. Pedro is grimacing, and I'm sure Tom Kelly grimacing a bit more.
Gallego swings and misses. And did you see the body language for Herbeck as he stood there as if to say, what are you doing? Kent, the cutoff man, between first and second. So he throws to the wrong base and throws over the cutoff man as well. And the Yankees have runners at second and third. The infield back with 1 out. And the pitch misses, 1-1. Well, the one thing about the Twins is with their earned run average approaching 6. A 4-run lead for Minnesota is hardly money in the bank. Fouled away, and the count is 1-2.
I mean, something we also touched upon is Yankees are leading the American League in runs, but in going 19-3 since the All-Star break, they've averaged 7 runs a game. So 6-2, I mean, it doesn't get them out of their game plan. They don't have to start hitting home runs. I mean, even though they may do that, they'll just play contact ball, take the walks when you give them to them.
Still 1-2 on Gallegos.
What started this road Yankee streak was a game in Seattle, the first game after the All-Star game. In the 6th inning against the Mariners, they were trailing 7-1. They came back to win that game. The next night, they were behind in the 9th inning. They won that game. 3 come from behind wins that weekend against Seattle.
And a 10-1 road trip to the West Coast as they proceeded to Oakland and Anaheim. And went home and extended their lead. It had been a very tight race at the All-Star break with the Yankees barely in front of the Orioles, and right now that lead is 10 games. And they have broken the race wide open. 2-2.
Well, we took a look at Buck Showalter, who was just on camera, and Randy Velarde, who's a utility guy, plays all over, said, you know, it's very rarely that a team won't second guess what a manager does. And he said, this guy is so prepared, we don't do that anymore. So he is obviously making the right moves. You know, a lot of times you'll sit down on the end of the bench and the guy hits and runs, or he has a guy try to steal, and you go, gee, you know, is that really the right thing to do? But he said, Buck is about as well prepared as you can be.
3-2 is grounded to the left side, and with the infield back, that will score a run, and Mears has it dug out by Herbeck, who didn't even know he had the ball. It is 6-4 as Stanley scores. Williams stays at second, and Herbeck didn't even know he had scooped it out. With that big first baseman's glove, sometimes you don't know if the ball is in there, and Kent didn't.
Well, low throw, and Herbeck is probably the best first baseman I've ever seen and ever won a Gold Glove. Agile, 260, maybe 270 at this point in his career. I tell you what, I mean, he can make the plays, and there's a perfect example of a guy that you don't have to be fast, you have to be quick to play first or third.
I think the reason that Ken Herbeck hasn't won a Gold Glove is because he's not left-handed, and that's a left-hander's position. Mattingly, you think of all the great first basemen, first basemen dating back to Ferris Fane, Keith Hernandez, Don Mattingly. Mattingly with only 1 error for every 253 chances. That's the best ratio in the history of the game. But it is indeed a left-handed throwing position.
That's a good point. I mean, I'm thinking about in recent times good fielding right-handed first base. Maybe Steve Garvey would come to mind.
Good fielder, but not a good thrower,
right.
But a good fielder.
Right. 2-1 is pop foul out of play, and the count 2-2.
Gil Hodges.
Oh, and also, you know, Herbeck was not one of these one-dimensional guys. I mean, just hits. He does play first, but has great range. For a big guy, I mean, he covers a lot of territory, not afraid to stray off the bag. A lot of first basemen, they go on a ball to their right, they go back to the base. Not Kent. Never has.
2-2 to Kelly, got him swinging. But in the inning, the Yankees get 2, and after 3.5, it is now 6-4. Well, with the impending strike, Dave Winfield has been around and has seen just about everything, and I asked him what he thought was going to happen.
It'll be resolved, but I can't tell you when, where, how, or whatever. So I'm not nervous about it, and I try to keep the other young players under control who haven't experienced it. And I try to tell them why things are happening, why there are press conferences, why things are said, and what we're trying to accomplish, and don't take their eye off the goal. And they'll be okay. So that's about it.
Pat Mears at the plate, and the count 1-1. Winfield is one of 33 players who are still playing who experienced the 50-day strike in 1981. One other guy in the ballpark tonight who was also involved in that strike is Steve Howe, who was at that time playing for the Dodgers and faced Winfield's Yankees in the 1981 World Series. Dave understands the posturing and the press conferences. I mean, Donald Fehr and Richard Ravitch have been on television, I think, more than Oprah Winfrey, Pat Robertson, what's his name, Gary Smalley, and the other guy out there combined. I mean, they get more time than most people do with 2-year-long infomercials. You wonder when they have time to negotiate. I mean, every time I turn on television these days, it's one or the other or both. It's almost like it's going to be a jury trial, and each side is setting up the jury, but this won't be decided by any jury.
Yeah, I think it boils down these negotiations to public posturing as opposed to private negotiating.
And does that get any solutions? It doesn't.
Well, the private negotiation does.
Oh, they do, but I'm talking
not
about
the public posturing. No.
And what are you trying to do with the public posturing? As if the fans are supposed to say, hey, I'm sympathetic toward one side or the other. And what does it matter in the long run? Mears is down on strikes. 2 down. Just get it done.
And you would think with about a week to go that they would be negotiating every day.
Sure. I mean, what purpose does it really serve to keep negotiating in the press or posturing? The public's not going to sympathize with either side. Knobloch at the plate. And the count is 1-0. The other thing about this, I haven't run into one person, either on the field or in a management position, who doesn't think there will be a strike. It's almost as if it's a fait accompli in their minds. Nobody is saying we're going to get this thing done by next Friday. In the air to right center field, deep but playable, and that's Williams posting back to make the catch. So Perez has now settled down, retired 6 straight, through 4, Twins 6, Yankees 4.
Inside the all-new Monte Carlo is a
5th inning, Minnesota leading 6-4. And Pat Mahomes works on Luis Polonia, top of the order. Polonia, Boggs, and O'Neill. Louis 1 for 2 tonight. One and one. Yankees trying to win their 11th straight road game. Pass swing grounder to short. And Mears to Herbert for the out. 1 down in the 5th inning. Wade Boggs, who is 0 for 1, coming up. Tomorrow on ABC, it's America's Funniest Hour. Then Clark's Secret may be revealed on Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. And then Richard Dreyfuss and Holly Hunter starring Always tomorrow night here on ABC. Boggs takes up high.
Ted Grossman also starred in Always.
Your friend.
Oh, yes. Your friend, too.
Fabled stuntman.
Big Ted.
Grossman.
Big Ted.
I'm definitely tuning in now. 1-1 the count.
You'll be tuning in from Buffalo, right?
That's
Tomorrow
right,
night?
from Buffalo. Yeah. Monday night for preseason football coming up. Redskins and the Bills on Monday night. And then there's a wild preseason football game coming up a week from Monday. It hasn't gotten a lot of play yet, but the Cowboys are going to face the Oilers in a preseason game in Mexico City, where they've already sold over 100,000 seats.
And you'll be there?
We'll be there a week from Monday. It'll be quite a scene. 3-1 to count.
Well, maybe you can do a quarter in Spanish.
Yeah, right. I took 8 years of Spanish, and I think I know si and aloha. Hit in the air to center field. That's Alex Cole moving to his right and making the catch. 2 down. O'Neill coming up. Back here in the second. Right now, here's John Saunders.
All right, Al, you need one more reason why we don't want to see a strike. How about Jeff Bagwell in the year he is having? This is a 3-run home run, his 39th of the year. He now has 115 runs batted in. That's 21 more than Dante Bichette, who's number 2 on the list. Back to Al, Jim, and Tim.
All right, John. Here's O'Neill taking up high. Ball 1, 1-0. Bet you didn't know aloha was a Spanish word.
No.
Adios, boys. Here's the 2-0 pitch to O'Neill. Missing for ball 3.
RBIs number 1, 13, 14, and 15 for Bagwell.
Did you see that pitch? I mean, a high slider in the middle of the plate.
And that's in there.
And that's the question I get. I mean, Terry Steinbeck, I think, said it best with the catcher for Oakland. He said, you know, there are very few pitches that I have called that have been hit for home runs that didn't deserve to be. And it's not to discredit hitters because you still have to hit the ball.
Yeah, you do.
But it seems like when you watch the Sports Center and all the highlights, they are getting some real good pitches to hit.
They're appropriately named highlights.
Still 3-2 on O'Neill. 2 out, bases empty, 5th inning. Minnesota leading 6-4.
Even that toe turned in to keep the shoulder closed. Everybody has their own personal mechanism to try to keep the front shoulder closed, and that is O'Neill's.
He started that last year when he came over from Cincinnati to the Yankees. Rick Down said it's also a way to stay back. Keep your weight back.
Matt Noakes on deck. 2 out, bases empty in the 5th. And Mahomes with the 3-2 to O'Neill. Lifted in the air to left center field. A long run for Cole, who can't get there. He can only cut it off. And O'Neill chugs into second with a double.
Now, you talked earlier, Timmy, about defense. Cole playing in right center. We talked about the Yankees straight hitting it to all fields. You can't play everywhere, and he just lofted a fly ball. Out to left center, a long run, and Cole can fly, and he's still. But again, look where the pitch is, and look what his approach is, not to pull it. I don't think Cole really saw that ball very well, but a very, very long run.
Pretty good piece of hitting by O'Neill to have that much power by reaching for the ball, a ball off the plate away.
Now Matt Noakes with 2 out. Popped it up in foul ground. Walbeck never saw it, but it turns out to be moot as it winds up back in the seats. 0-1 the count.
If you folks will check your the magazine section in the New York Times tomorrow morning, you will see an article written. She writes every Sunday. She's the food editor of the New York Times, Molly O'Neill. She's the only Paul's only sister. There are 5 boys. Paul's the youngest of 6. But I'll tell you, it's appropriate because he has been feasting on American League pitching this year.
That's my dream job, you know. To be the
That'd be
food critic
great.
someday.
You think your credit card bill would be bigger than it is now?
Well, it's all on the expense account. That's why it's the dream job.
Take a look. They moved in. Just got hurt out over the plate to Paul O'Neill. Walbeck calls for the fastball in, and he gets it. Inside third of the plate.
Instead of a food critic, maybe you could become a hotel critic.
Oh,
He already is. What do you mean?
I retired from that position. But like Ken Herbeck,
For a man who never
maybe
ate,
coming out.
but for a man who never ate vegetables.
1-2 the count.
You read Molly O'Neill's article tomorrow morning. I'll guarantee you'll have your first vegetable tomorrow evening in Buffalo.
She's that good a writer?
She's that good a writer.
Okay. Mattingly on deck. Noakes trying to keep the inning alive with 2 out and to count 1 ball and 2 strikes. And Walbeck wants to check things out again with Mahomes. Even with a runner at second base, the Twins defensively align in the same manner against Noakes, with Mears over on the right field side of second and Knobloch out in shallow right field.
I think what they're probably talking about is Noakes had surgery on his right hamate bone early in the year, but he is a home run hitter. So here you are, you have your defense stacked over there, but he is very capable of reaching the hefty bag out in right field here, either for a double or a home run.
The shallow center, Cole coming on, and that's that. So the Strain O'Neill in the 5th, and it remains 6-4 Minnesota. Twins 6, Yankees 4. Bottom of the 5th inning in Minnesota. Alex Cole to lead off, and then Kirby Puckett and Kent Hrbek. Toledo Perez working for the Yankees. If there is not a work stoppage, then Baseball Night in America resumes next Saturday. Again, regional coverage at 8 Eastern and 7 Central. That will be next Saturday night. Alex Cole drops down a nice bunt, but Perez is there and throws too late. So nice enough to beat it out, and Cole has his 2nd hit of the game.
Not a real good butt, was it, Jim?
Well, it was just good enough. And you got to understand, right out in front of home plate, Melito Perez falls off to first base. He's 6'4". He's got to come back from first base, reach down, and at 6'4", doesn't get rid of it quickly enough. And Cole, and then maybe another run on base for the Twins.
Would have been a great bunt on grass.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Alex Cole has to do. I mean, you see, we did what? The Giants and the Dodgers. Brett Butler put 84 bunts in play last year. Bring the defense in. You don't always bunt, but you hit it by him. I mean, here's a guy until this year had gone 1,317 at bats without hitting a home run until he hit one off Juan Guzman
On April 17th, and has had 3 since then.
Ball's not juiced, is it?
Cole at first. He has 27 steals, and he's been caught 7 times. Kirby Puckett, big night, homered in the 1st, doubled a drive in 2 in the 3rd, and at the moment leading the league in runs batted in with 101. Strike. 1-1.
It almost appeared that Puckett thought he might be running him. He took a fastball, pretty much the same fastball he hit for a home run early in the game. Right down the middle.
With Puckett and Hrbek each homering in the game, it's the 26th time that they have done that. The two of them have combined to hit home runs in the same game, and that's the most of any combination in the majors, active combination. Second, surprisingly, would be Frank Thomas and Robin Ventura, who really hadn't been playing together that long, but they've done it on 25 occasions.
Now, one of the most amazing things about Kirby Puckett is his plate coverage. Dave Winfield, 6'7", long arms. I can understand how he can hit balls off the plate away. I have never been able to understand how Kirby Puckett can handle the ball in off the plate and off the plate away as well as he does. Winfield, a big guy with long arms, it's easy to understand. But Puckett, 5'8", 5'9".
1-2.
Well, I mean, if you look, and I think as a former pitcher, you always wanted to see if a guy could cover the outside part of the plate. As he takes that practice swing, the bat doesn't quite cover the outside part of the plate, but he doesn't give. I mean, he doesn't bail out. He doesn't move that left shoulder. His move is towards the plate. Great bad ball hitter. I think pitch identification. I mean, you don't have, what, 2,150 some odd hits if you don't see the ball coming out of the pitcher's hand. You must be able to pick up the ball very early, be able to discern what it is. And again, hitting the ball to all fields is a bonus for him.
Twins up by 2, nobody out in the bottom of the 5th inning. Cole at first base, and they count 2 balls and 2 strikes on Kirby Puckett.
No, I asked Kirby, I said, how, you're 12 and 33 over your last, 45 games. I said, is it tough coming to the park? He said, no, JP, pride. I'm a leader. That's what I get paid for. Play hard every day.
Cole goes, and the pitch is a half swing, and there is an appeal at first base. It gets away. Down to second goes Cole, and the first base umpire, McKean, says no swing, so simply ball 3.
I think if Stanley come up with a ball, then they may have gotten the call, but you figure it's a wild pitch. Cole actually running on the pitch, so I guess it's a stolen base. The ball hit the inside part of the plate and gets away with Stanley. So a stolen base for Alex Cole. No wild pitch. But had Stanley come up with the ball, first base umpire Jim McKeon may have given the check swing. Since it got that far away from him, his attention was diverted, and possibly that was the reason they didn't get the call.
And the count now 3 balls and 2 strikes on Puckett. Hit on the hands and grounded wide of third. Boggs is there. Off balance throw is a nice one to get him. 1 out. Cole remains at second. Ken Hrbek is retiring. I guess if there's one defining moment in his career, let's go back to Game 6 of the 1987 World Series. Bases loaded, 2 out, bottom of the 6th. Twins lead by 1. And Hrbek hits a high drive to deep center field. McKean goes back. They will walk him intentionally here. When he hit that grand slam, and the 3 of us were here, we did that World Series between the Cardinals and the Twins. That might have been the loudest sound I've ever heard. We had at that time a decibel meter, and you see it a lot on television these days and being used in various forms, but it was relatively new at that point, and we were showing you how noisy it was throughout that World Series and relating it to jet engine noise and airport noise and the rest. And remember, we took the shot of the decibel meter after that home run, and the thing just, it died. That was the end of it. It took it right off the chart. Boom, there went the needle. That was the loudest sound I've ever heard. This stadium after Hrbek's grand slam. And they won that game, did the Twins, and then went on to beat the Cardinals the next night to win the World Series. Shane Mack at the plate.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Twins are going to miss Ken Hrbek. I mean, he enjoys the game. He's a local kid. Could have signed with the Tigers for more money, stayed here, even though he got a good salary. But I'll tell you what, he's like everybody here. Likes to hunt, likes to fish, likes to have a burger, not too worried about his waistline. There's a great line of his coaches. A lot of stories coming about people reminiscing, and he said he came to an off-season workout. Everybody was running from the right field line into center field, and he looked at those guys and he goes, obviously those guys can't hit. Why are they running? If you can hit, you don't have to run.
Hrbek born here, raised here, and spent his whole life living in Minnesota and his entire career with the Minnesota Twins. And these days, I don't have to tell you, to play as long as Ken has and to be with only one organization your entire career is getting rarer and rarer.
You talked about he can still hit. He lined out in homer tonight. But he said, I could probably still be a DH. I don't like to do that as Terry Mulholland gets up for the Yankees. And he said I could probably make a couple of $1 million somewhere doing that. But I'm going to retire.
Throw back to second, and Cole gets back. And one of the things he has said, and I had a chance to talk to Kent before the game about it, is his father died in his early 50s and never had a chance to retire. And he's referred to that a number of times. And you're right, Jim. I mean, there's clearly a chance for Hrbek to make, as Mack gets hit by the pitch, a chance for Hrbek to make several $1 million over the next 3 or 4 years as a DH. So Mack hit by the pitch to load the bases, and Chip Hale will come up.
It looked like right above the left elbow. Ouch. You can see Matt Noakes, or I beg your pardon, Mike Stanley moving inside. That had to hurt. That's a rarity in itself to see a hitter get hit by a pitch and not either charge the mound, go halfway out there, or glare at the mound.
The other night, Perez hit Kevin Seitzer in a game in Milwaukee, hit him in the face as Hale fouls it. That was one of the scariest hit batsmen I've ever seen, and fortunately Seitzer was able to walk off the field. But, very scary moment with Cole at third and Herbeck at second, Mack at first, one out in the fifth inning.
Yeah, Seitzer came back and went 1 for 2 the next night. Wearing a face mask.
Dale chops it foul on the count, 0-2. Bottom of the fifth. Minnesota leading 6-4. The Yankees with the best record in baseball. An 8-game winning streak. A 10-game lead. They've already clinched the American League East, assuming there is a strike and no further baseball this season.
And Hale doubled on a fastball the first time out, grounded out on a splitter. To me, that's a setup pitch. I never really liked the waste pitches, but I think right now they'll come back with something off speed because Chip Hale can hit the fastball, especially down in the strike zone.
Doug Showalter has Terry Mulholland warming up in the bullpen, but if he brings him in, Scott Leyes would have been the pinch hitter.
And there's your splitter. I think Buck, I mean, not too many American League managers would go this long with a starter. Now, he's won 6 in a row, but I think it also has a lot to do with the confidence he has with his offense. And the fact that Mulholland struggled as a starter. He's pitched a little bit better out of the bullpen. There's Tony Cloninger, the bullpen pitching coach. The Yankees have 2. Billy Connors in the dugout and Tony Cloninger in the bullpen.
Chopper to the right side. Mattingly has only one play at first base, and a run scores as Cole crosses the plate to make it 7-4. So Hale will get a run batted in, and on the play, Herbeck advances to third, and Mack goes to second. 2 down now, and Munoz coming up.
Baseball is really a funny game. I mean, there's an at-bat where the hitter, Chip Hale, is not trying to do what he did, but ends up making a productive out. A double play ball is a very rare type of ball. A pitcher wants the hitter to hit it hard enough to get the double play, but not hard enough to find a hole somewhere. When he hits it hard, you want him to hit it at somebody.
Similar to what Paul O'Neill did back in the second inning. Actually, third inning. Hit into his fifth. I mean, he crushed the ball, got it out on the nose 15 times. He's hit in a double play.
0-1 on Munoz, who grounds it sharply to the left side. Gallego up with it and throws him out. In the inning, the Twins get a run and extend their lead to 7-4 after 5. Let's check in with John Saunders for this update.
And well, Al, the Yankees are running away with things in the East. The Mets a bit of a surprise as well. They're looking to get to 500 tonight, but Jeff Conine trying to stop things with the bases loaded. Barbary, Carr, and Sheffield come in on the double. 4-1 is the lead for the Marlins. Mets had led 1-0. The Braves and the Reds. Braves chasing Montreal, and Terry Pendleton with his single here. Fred McGriff comes across the score. 2-0 is the lead. Also the wild card spot at stake, we hope. 2-0 the score in the 6th. The Expos, meantime, against the Phillies. Fernando facing Sean Barry. Lifts this one to center field. Lenny Dykstra goes back, thinks he has a play, then realizes it's going to be a double, and no. Wrong on both counts. This one is over his head for a home run. 3-1 is the score in the 6th. Let's get back to Al, Jim, and Tim.
Well, John, up in the corner of your screen, and we'll play it back for you. Pat Mahomes delivered a pitch. It slips out of his hand, but it's no pitch because it has to cross into foul territory to be a pitch, and that's why Buck Showalter is out there right now. Look at this. They let it roll as if it's a putt coming toward the hole. But if it doesn't cross the plate and go into foul territory, it's no pitch.
Pitch was low anyway.
So the count is 0-1. It's not 1-1, and now it's 1-1.
Well, one of the more embarrassing things in my career, and of course, Buck, we told you how prepared he is. He wants that to be ball 1 because he needs base runners. But in the '70 World Series, I went to throw a ball to home plate. The ball went behind me. It was embarrassing, but it told me something.
Mattingly tells this crowd something as he drills one to deep right field and just fouled. And Mattingly thought it was fair when it left the bat. You could see Don jumping up as it just went foul before it was able to wrap itself around the screen.
Well, that ball Mattingly just hit is a good case for having a higher foul screen in this ballpark. It's very difficult for an umpire to determine whether a ball's fair or foul when it goes over the foul pole or the foul screen down the right field line.
Well, see, there looks like there's something down the left field line that does that.
Mattingly goes that way. Well, he'll try left field this time. But crossing over into foul ground to Shane Mack on the run to make the catch. One away. So Mattingly just misses a home run and then fouls out to Mack. One gone, and Mike Stanley is the batter.
Well, there's your view, and down the right field line, it appears that the foul pole ends, at least from our vantage point, right at the upper deck. But in left field, it looks like there's either some guidelines or some netting that go all the way to the roof.
Well, I think there are in right field as well. We just can't see them from this angle. The wires extend from the roof, but the screen itself only extends, as you can see, to just about the level of where the upper deck begins. 1-2 the count. Here are the wires extending from the roof in left field that support the screen.
I'm sure the reason for that is they don't want to block the view from the upper deck.
1-2 the count. Now tipped and held by Walbeck. 2 down. That is strikeout number 4 for Mahomes. Well, there's Jim Kelly filling up the left side of your screen, and we'll be at Rich Stadium on Monday night. And preseason football starts earlier. It's 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, unlike the regular season. So now earlier this Monday night, the Washington Redskins debut under Norv Turner against the 4-time AFC champion Buffalo Bills. Monday night preseason football. Bernie Williams at the plate. 1-0. Twins leading 7-4 as Williams fouls it back. 1-1.
Hank Williams Jr. is back for the year.
He certainly is. Happy to have him. 25th anniversary season of Monday Night Football.
Kind of gets you rolling, doesn't it?
It does. Are you ready for some football? It's become a great catchphrase around the country. He's back. Question is, are we ready for some baseball after Friday? We are, but are the players in management after 5.5, 7-4 Minnesota. The Minnesota Twins lead the New York Yankees 7-4, bottom of the 6th inning at the Metrodome in Minneapolis. Matt Walbeck to lead off, and then Pat Mears and Chuck Knobloch. Comebacker, Perez has it and throws him out. You know, Steve Howe, he mentioned before, one of 33 players to have experienced a strike in '81, and there he is, and the impending strike now. Marvin Miller guided the Players Union in 1981, and Donald Fear is their head right now. So I asked Howe before the game to give us a scouting report on each.
I would say that the difference between Marvin Miller and Marvin Miller is Steve Howe on the ball field, and Don Fair is Jimmy Key on the ball field. Jimmy Key is Donald Fair is very calculatory. He's very kind of he's almost like a pet rock when you look at him. You know, he doesn't show much at all. And then you look at Steve Howe, wired for 220, and very emotional. And Marvin Miller says it like it is, and look out. He lets you know he's coming. Don Fair, sometimes you don't really know where he's coming.
One of the more interesting analyses I've heard.
I guess from that analogy, you could say that Marvin Miller had 6 saves as far as the Players Association is concerned.
And Donald Fehr hopes to be 17-3 like Jimmy Key, who leads the major leagues. He wants another victory.
Mears, who singled while we were playing that interview for you at first base with 1 out. How about that? Donald Fehr is like a pet rock in a way.
For you at home, Steve Howe is left-handed. He thinks slightly different.
Fouled away. I mean, there's little question. Donald Fehr is a very intelligent, maybe even a brilliant man. But you're not going to find him on the Comedy Channel, are you?
Don't think so.
Marvin Miller took over the Major League Baseball Players Association in 1966. It was after Judge Robert Cannon, who was elected to the office, wanted to move the office from New York to Chicago. The Players Association did not go for that. And Marvin Miller, who had received 2 initial votes, the vote was retaken, and he was somewhat reluctantly by the players taken in. But 10 years later, they weren't reluctant at all. Remarkable strides made from 1966 through today, really.
I think the owners are very well aware that Donald Fehr studied under Marvin. Second in command.
1-2. Well, the funny thing is right now, it's almost as if the players are far more organized than the owners are. With all of the new ownership in baseball, and who's doing what these days, and the power structure has so severely changed.
Even financially.
Sure.
The players with $150 million in the pool, the owners with none. In 1981, the owners had strike insurance that ran out after 30 days. And that's one of the reasons that that the owners finally had to settle.
I'm still not sure. Foul tipped, and they're going to check and see if it was held.
Yeah, see, Jim McKee.
And it was.
Yes, and that's the question. Knobloch doesn't want to give up at a bat. He's saying the ball bounced. And if it bounces, it's a foul ball. If it goes right into the catcher's glove before it bounces, it's a strikeout. You be the judge.
Ball.
Yes.
That's an
Sure.
easy call.
Sure it did.
Easy. First base umpire's got the shot, and he's got to help out home plate umpire Ed Hickox in that play. That was clear to see. You wonder why Jim McKean didn't see it.
Well, that's exactly what Tom Kelly's probably saying.
So it's a strikeout on what should have been simply a foul tip.
Yeah, umpiring's just like pitching or hitting or playing defense. If you lose your concentration, you're not going to make the play.
How could the second base umpire not see it? Ed Bean, clear shot.
Here's Alex Cole taking outside.
Well, you know, Timmy, very rarely will a rookie umpire like Ed Bean overrule the crew chief down at first base, who's Jim McKean. It just doesn't happen. Should, but it doesn't. You want to get it right.
Just to finish up what we were talking about in terms of the owners, and to me, it's a case of who really speaks for the owners these days. I mean, Bud Selig, who owns the Brewers, is the de facto commissioner. People talk about Jerry Reinsdorf with the White Sox, but what about somebody like a Peter O'Malley, who used to be so influential in ownership circles, and now you rarely hear from or about Peter, and you wonder how much input a Peter O'Malley has these days. Cole fouls it back. So to me, basically what I'm saying is the players appear to be very, very unified, and ownership seems to look at it in a disparate fashion.
Yeah,
I'm not sure who speaks for whom.
Well, it goes back to what Dave Winfield said in the interview. He said, I have to teach the young guys that this is the way it's going to be. And you have to stand up. It worked in '81. They were a very solidified union then, and they still are.
Lifted foul and back out of play, and it remains 2 balls And 2 strikes. Just briefly, the players' strike in 72 started it. That wiped out the first several days of the season. The owners locked the players out in 73. Lockout in spring training in 76. Players' strike in 80, but that was the issue there deferred to 81 when you had the big strike. And that was the 50-dayer, and we saw the others. The count 3 balls and 2 strikes.
But ultimately in 81, and this is my opinion only, if you go look at 81, players gave up compensation, which is now free agents for people, free agents that are lost. And in 85, they went from 2 years of arbitration to 3. So I think they're going to have to give something this year. They don't want to. I mean, the players like the
Not a salary cap.
No, exactly. I mean, I agree with you 100% there, but they have to give, and we talked about it earlier, it has to be some kind of token, a carrot or something.
I think that's the nature of negotiations. Each side's head wants to think that they came out of it with something to sell it to their organization.
Sure. You saw Rob Murphy loosening up in the bullpen. The count remains 3-2 with 2 out. Well, that's what labor negotiations are about. I mean, nobody's going to do a slam dunk here.
You bring up a great point, though. Peter Angelos, new owner in Baltimore, said, listen, I would not accept anything from the owners unless they prove that they're losing money, which is something they're pleading.
That's lined in the left center field for a base hit and maybe more, and Poloni is able to cut it off, but they're still going to wave the runner in around third as Mears scores on a double by Cole. Cole's 3rd hit of the game, and that makes it 8-4.
I think it's pretty clear by now that the reason Melito Perez is still in the ball game is because of how he has been throwing and not the way he is throwing tonight. To reiterate, he has won 6 in a row, but he has made a lot of bad pitches this evening, and this trip to the mound by Mike Stanley might be biding time for Rob Murphy to warm up, and they may be taking Perez out of the ball game.
Perez, like any other pitcher, you can't get behind in the count, throw 3 repeated 4 pitches in the same area, and pitch up in the strike zone.
Right.
And he's done that all night long.
Well, Buck calling the bullpen to see if Murphy's ready. Murphy may come into the game, walk Puckett to get to Herbeck, but so far Buck's making no move.
Now, the way Herbeck's swinging the bat, it's really no bonus, but they are going to walk him. And if you're Melito Perez, boy, this is a lot of fun. You give enough 8 run, and now you get to walk somebody else so another guy can come in.
Yeah, well, if you're going to make a pitching change, why don't you bring the guy in, and it gives him, in effect, 4 more warm-up pitches from the mound.
I think what you'd rather do if you're Buck is to allow him to throw those pitches in the bullpen because he's throwing them hard instead of softly.
But with a guy like Murphy, who's been in the National League, you wonder how long it's been since he's been on the mound here in Minnesota. I don't know. Here comes Buck. And we're going to see the very recently acquired left-hander, Rob Murphy, about ready to make his entrance, and the sign has been sent out to the bullpen. Baseball Night in America is being brought to you by Buick and your local Buick dealers. Remember, Buick, the new symbol for quality in America. Wendy's, after 25 years, quality is still the recipe. And Hanes underwear, activewear, and socks. Just wait till you get our Hanes on you. Rob Murphy, picked up from the Cardinals the other day. They put Xavier Hernandez on the disabled list, and the much-traveled lefty comes in. And here was Perez on tape as he comes out, allowing 8 earned runs tonight, equaling his career high in 5 2/3 innings. Murphy 4-3 in 50 appearances this season for the Cardinals with a 3.79 earned run average.
And to make room on the Yankee roster, Xavier Hernandez was placed on the disabled list. I think Hernandez has been possibly the biggest disappointment as far as the Yankees pitching is concerned this year. Hernandez penciled in to be the stopper for the Yankees, but now they're going with Steve Howe and Bob Wickman, a dual role to save ball games.
He has some company with Terry Mulholland in terms of the biggest disappointment on the
that's
staff.
right. That's right.
But there haven't been very many disappointments with the Yankees this season. There's Howe, and there is Hernandez. Even though he is on the disabled list, he is still in uniform in the bullpen.
Yeah, Xavier hit with a line drive, and pitching better in the second half than he did in the first half, but you saw him a lot last year and doing a lot of Met games, and he just did not seem like he had a lot of confidence. You talked about it earlier, maybe assuming a different role.
Well, I think assuming a different role and coming to a city like New York where there is little room for error as far as your pitchers are concerned. An organization with a lot of tradition, winning tradition. In past years, of course.
Ken Herbeck with runners at first and second and 2 down. Cole at second, Puckett at first, and Minnesota leading 8-4. Ken flying to center, hit a towering homer in the third, drew an intentional walk in the fifth.
Yeah, Murphy basically a fastball slider pitcher. You saw the slider right there, and just go back to that highlight we showed you. Ken Daly pitching in '87 for the Cardinals, a left-hander, and Herbeck hit a grand slam. He can hit lefties.
Murphy's been around, started with the Reds, made his big league debut in '85, and then he went to the Red Sox for a couple of years, to Seattle for a season, then to Houston and St. Louis, and now back in the American League. Fly ball to the deepest part of the park to left center now, and Bernie Williams makes the catch. Williams had a little trouble reading that. Thought it was hit to almost straightaway center, more toward the gap, but makes the play, and that's that for the Twins. But they get another in the sixth and lead it 8-4, and we'll return after this from our ABC station. Polonia in that order. Yankees trying to extend the winning streak, remain unbeaten on the road trip, perhaps increase their lead in the American League East, which is 10 games over Baltimore coming in, but right now trailing by 4. 1-1 on Mike Gallego. If the Yankees go to postseason play, that's a spot that Gallego has been in before. Mike was part of the Oakland A's during their glory years in the 88, 89, 90 era. It's a foul outside third. Mark Guthrie is throwing in the Minnesota bullpen.
Check this out, how Mark Guthrie warms up. Why does he do that?
I don't know.
Just now it's more standard. He goes into his windup.
But again, this game is not over. Al Michaels telling you earlier, this is a pitching staff with an ERA of almost 6 runs a game. Bullpen ERA right up there with them. Only Aguilera has pitched well. And of course Kevin Campbell, who we saw last night. So Mahomes, who has not pitched a complete game, has averaged less than 6 innings to start. Very important that he gets the ball over and something on it.
I think in fairness, you should point out, or we should point out, that the catching staff for the Minnesota Twins, with only 25 games major league experience coming into this year, and certainly because of their inexperience, should share part of the woes of the performances of the pitchers.
That's hit to the gap in left center field for a base hit. Mack cuts it off and gets it back in. So Mike with a leadoff single, and here's John Saunders.
Okay, Al, the Giants and the Astros in Houston had taken a 6-2 lead. Pete Harnisch nursing that. But Matt Williams sends this one to right center field. Home run number 42 on the year. The Giants still trail in the game, but take a look at the home run leaders chasing Roger Maris. Jeff Bagwell with one tonight as well. Al, Jim, and Tim.
So Matt Williams now just 14 behind Hack Wilson's National League record. And 19 back of Maris. That's hit to straightaway center, and Alex Cole makes the catch off the bat of Pat Kelly for the first out. Next Saturday on Wide World of Sports, a special encore presentation of the Durasoft Colors World Challenge of Champions skating, featuring Christy Yamaguchi and Midori Ito on Wide World of Sports 1 week from today. Polonia hits a foul off to the left.
Pat Kelly making news this week. Playgirl magazine voting him one of the sexiest men in America. Matter of fact, asking him to pose nude for one of their editions. And he said, well, no, but with the impending strike, maybe I need the money. And there's only one guy in this booth who can answer. Jim, what does it pay? You're You're as close as, you know, as anybody up here.
Well, you mean as far as posing the nude?
Yeah, right.
No, as far as, you know, posing for Playgirl.
I never posed. My former teammate Steve Stone did.
Well, nowadays,
he spurred him onto it. Yeah, he was in Playgirl.
I have learned that Palmer has again been offered a contract, this time by Geriatric World, to pause in the nude. 2-1 the count.
What a pal.
Wait till I get my Hanes on you. The next pitch is a strike, and the count is 2-2.
You're just jealous.
Of what?
Of
your golf swing. That's all I'm
I should hope so.
Yeah, definitely. Boys, it's great to be back with you. It really is.
Sure is.
Oh, yeah, right. Mr. Punching Bag over here. Yes, I love it.
That's why we brought you back.
Yeah, thank you.
Outside for ball 3 to Polonia. Full count. Well, what's Kelly going to do? I mean, has Pat decided what he's going to do with
He said he is not going to do it. But I mean, I think he was kidding around, saying with the strike coming up, maybe I'll need the money. I talked to him yesterday and had a twinkle in his eye.
In the air to right field, Munoz backs up, edge of the warning track, and hauls it in for the second out of the 7th inning. And Wade Boggs will come to the plate.
Yeah, they'll buy that magazine, that Geriatric magazine I'm going to be in.
Oh, I thought you meant Playgirl.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Well, McCarver and I have been asked to pose for Blood Horse. Wade Boggs, 0 for 2 plus a walk. One and 0 the count. Ball 2.
See, this is why he's such a good hitter. I mean, he's 0 for 2. He's walked once, as you said, but right there, that's a borderline pitch. If you don't subjugate your ego, you swing at that pitch, but he knows they're 4 runs down, wants to work the count. Takes another one. But first of all, he's very comfortable hitting deep into the count, which is why he's such a great hitter.
See the best 2-strike hitter you've ever seen?
I tell you what, you know, all the guys you're worried about hitting ball back up the middle, this was one of them. Hits the ball so hard. I mean, that's pitched against Rice and Frank Howard, guys like that, George Scott. And really, yeah, but those Scott and Rice and Howard, you always worried about them hitting a line drive up the middle, and you're standing there.
3 and 2 the count on Boggs. Full count, 2 down. Gallego will be off and moving on the pitch.
See, he knows that ball's outside. He wished that he got the call, because if he did, he goes down to first base, and you get into the heart of their batting order.
So Gallego will take off on the 3-2 pitch, which is grounded to third. Hale is there over to Herbeck, and the Yankees begun in the 7th. After 6.5 it remains. Twins 8, Yankees 4. He's thrown enough pitches tonight. He leaves with a 4-run lead as the Twins come up in the bottom of the 7th inning.
And that's what the Twins need. We told you they're 12 and 33. They haven't been getting quality starts. And no, not a great performance, but for a 23-year-old right-hander from Texas against the Yankees who have been on a hot streak, he gave his team a chance to win, and that's what you're supposed to do as a starting pitcher.
Well, Rob Murphy in for New York, facing Mac Hale and Munoz, and then it figures to be Mark Guthrie in the 8th inning with the Yankee lefties coming up. And then when they go to the 9th, the Twins, of course, have Rick Aguilera as their closer. Shane Mack, 1 for 2, and he's been hit by a pitch. Shane has a younger brother, Quinn, who's in the Seattle organization. In fact, Quinn played in a handful of games with the Mariners earlier this season.
Reprised that story that we told in 1987. Shane's dad, a baggage handler, equipment handler at the Los Angeles International Airport, LAX. And he told us 7 years ago that Quinn Mack was going to be a better player, a better baseball player than Shane. But so far, that hasn't developed. If Shane hits 300 or more this year, it'll be 4 times in his last 5 years that he would have eclipsed the 300 mark.
Yeah, he gives a lot of credit to Terry Crowley, one of my old teammates, who's been the hitting instructor. Jeff Reveille coming on to be on deck. But if you look at Shane Mack and the way he holds his bat, when he came over here, he used to wrap his bat, and Terry Crowley has shortened his swing. He could do a lot of things. Pretty good outfielder. He doesn't throw as well as he used to because he had shoulder surgery, but he can hit for power and really drives the ball. Much shorter swing.
Driven to deep center field, and Williams goes back and watches this one go out. Number 14 for Shane Mack.
He can drive the ball. I'd say this is just a line drive fly ball, but it ends up going about 420 on the line. You pitch a guy out over the plate that likes to get his arms extended, and it is strong. Look at how short his swing is. And this is something they've worked on. Terry Crowley telling both Timmy and I yesterday that you have a long swing, you've got to start the bat early. You can't discern whether it's going to be a ball or a strike.
Jeff Reveille pinch hits for Hale and takes a strike. Twins now leading 9-4 in the bottom of the 7th inning. Reveille's versatile. Played first base last night. Played the middle infield positions. Or the outfield if they need him there as well. And he hits one to left center field. Polonia started in. That has to go back and makes the catch on the run. So Murphy's not fooling anybody. Herbeck flied out to deep center to end the 6th. Then the home run by Mack. And now Reveille to deep left center field for out number 1. Mr. McCarver.
And a reminder, folks, that this copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without express written consent from the Office of the Commissioner.
You are so mean.
Right.
Munoz. That's inside ball 1. Mark Guthrie throwing in the pen. Will face the Yankee lefties in the 8th inning. It's hit in the air to deep right field and into the corner, and O'Neill looks up and she is gone. Home run number 11. You know, Tim, we discussed when we did a Yankee game 3 weeks ago whether the ball was juiced or not. To me, the evidence is more visual than anything else. This is the type of home run I'm talking about you're seeing more and more of this year.
And as Jim brought up earlier, I mean, here's Alex Cole, who didn't have a home run in over 1,300 at-bats, and he has 4 this year.
And not trying to hit home runs. I mean, it's like Kenny Lofton doesn't hit many home runs, but all of a sudden when you're hitting 350 and leading the league in stolen bases, they lay a lot of pitches in there. But the bottom line is, I believe the ball is going farther.
Paul Gibson in the bullpen as Walbeck is at the plate with a count 0-2.
I mean, for Twins fans, Al, Pedro Munoz and Terry Crowley will tell you he hits the ball best when he hits the ball the other way.
Right. Good power the other way.
But I don't know if it's that good.
Yep. 0-2 is up high. 1 ball, 2 strikes. But you're seeing it all year long. Opposite field home runs.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact hitters are stronger. Strike zone is smaller. Different hitting approach. Because you don't get many inside pitches. And we talk about this. Most hitters look away. So then if you don't fool them with either breaking balls or off-speed pitches, and you pitch hard stuff out over the plate, that's exactly where they're looking.
Wallbeck goes the other way to deep right field, and O'Neill has room for this one at the edge of the warning track for the second out.
Well, if that's the case, if the ball is wound tighter, some people say the ball appears to be smaller. Why doesn't the company that makes Major League Baseball, Rawlings, why don't they admit it? I mean, what would be wrong in admitting it? Or is it just the fact that they don't know?
I think that could be it.
Yeah. You know, I mean, they did switch from Haiti to Costa Rica. Maybe the quality control is better.
But that was the last 3 years, right?
But third year.
Mears retired by Murphy on a comebacker, but 2 homers in the 7th, and it's now 10-4 Minnesota. And Mahomes pitching to Tom Mattingly. You talk about a changeup.
Well, they tell you got to have good arm speed, and the ball can't get there as quickly as your fastball.
Slip pitch.
And again, if you missed it when it happened, we explained that a pitch would have to cross the plate and go into foul territory. And there's Mahomes leaving after going 7 innings tonight. And so that was no pitch. Now Paul O'Neill with Mark Guthrie on the mound. O'Neill fouls it back. He has homered, hit into a double play, and doubled. And he's facing a guy who is working in his 50th game. That's the most appearances of any pitcher in the league, Mark Guthrie.
Yeah, he can be tough on lefties. Not having as good a year last year. Some question after having blood clotting because of a clogged artery in his left side of his body that he'd ever pitch again. He's had some outstanding years with the Twins. He's been here since 1989. A little changeup, sinker, big swerve we just saw. And if you're a left-hander, he looks like he's throwing the ball from about second base.
1-1 to O'Neill. Tim, does O'Neill look a little like Palmer to you? Take a look at Paul O'Neill.
A little bit, yeah. I haven't thought of that until you mentioned it. We see Carl Willis warming up in the Twins bullpen.
O'Neill foul. I mean, O'Neill could be like a second or third cousin. What do you think?
Yeah, we're both fine athletes, nice guys. Yeah, I can buy that. And my last year hitting, I also had a good year, so yeah,
72, did you?
I had 7 game-winning hits. I don't know how that ever happened. Hit 229. I don't think Paul would like that average.
No.
1-2 is hit right back through the middle. So he has a single, a double, and a home run tonight as he leads off the 8th inning with a base hit, and Danny Tartabull will pinch hit for Matt Noakes.
Let's see if Mark Guthrie is prepared to field the ball. No. See how he follows through? I mean, a former Minnesota Twin who won, what, 16 Gold Gloves, Jim Cott. Tell you what, nobody ever fielded his position better, because when he released the ball, you become a fielder. He knew that. Tell you what, a good fielding pitcher knocks that ball down or spears it, and you have yourself an out.
It's interesting to note, however, that a lot of good fielding pitchers never had a good follow-through. Bob Gibson comes to mind as one. His rear end was facing home plate after he released the ball. Jim Bunning, another.
Tartabull grounds one to the right side, and that's Knobloch ranging to the hole to make a nice play to get him. O'Neill advances to second. 1 out here in the 8th inning. And Don Mattingly comes up. Orioles leading 3-0 as you saw the score flashing by. So Baltimore could shave it to 9 in the American League East. Indians 7-0 over the Red Sox. That's the second half of a day-night doubleheader. Boston having won the afternoon game. And they're playing a doubleheader tomorrow at Fenway Park as well.
Yeah, I mean, I do Oriole games, and I think the Orioles, sure, they'd like to catch the Yankees, but realistically, they're worried about trying to, if the season goes long enough, to somehow get a wild card spot.
1-1.
Getting a little bit tied up. Guthrie's 6'4", and he's all his arms and leg out there. Hides the ball extremely well for a left-hander.
And Mattingly rips it into right field for a base hit. O'Neill will be held at third, and so the Yankees have runners at the corners with 1 out in the 8th inning. And Mike Stanley coming up. So once you get into that Twins bullpen, anything can happen. Tom Kelly caught a glimpse of him with Dick Such on the phone to the bullpen. And Kelly now coming to the mound. Willis was lit up last night, but the call goes out for Carl to come in here in the 8th inning with 1 out and the Twins leading by 6.
Eric Close, McKenna. The adventure begins this fall on ABC.
The Twins have scored in every inning except the 4th. Mark Guthrie faces 3 men, gives up 2 singles. And now Carl Willis comes out of the bullpen to face Mike Stanley with the Yankees at first and third. 1 out in the 8th inning, and Minnesota ahead 10-4. Now in the bullpen, well, there's the closer, Rick Aguilera. Rick has had a fairly decent year. The problem has been the Twins just haven't been in a position that often where Aguilera can pick up a lot of saves. He has 21.
I guess the definition of a bad bullpen is when you don't feel comfortable, when all you need is 5 more outs to win a ball game with a 6-run lead in the 8th inning.
Yep.
Well, it's not like it's opening day. See, Tom has seen this bullpen in action. And there's the numbers, Carl Willis, and now he's got to get the ball down. When he's had his success, a lot of people think that maybe something's going on, whether it's a spitter or a little scuff ball or whatever. But if he pitches up in the strike zone, you will see the numbers that we saw last night. 2/3 of an inning, 4 hits, and singles and doubles and home runs all over this park.
Stanley takes a strike, and they got 0-1. Stanley hit a ground rule double off Willis last night in the 4th inning.
Carl Willis, like a lot of pitchers in the major leagues, he wants to throw enough strikes to get you swing at balls. His stuff is not that good to pitch inside the strike zone. You throw strike 1, and then you get Stanley to be aggressive because he's probably looking for something hard, and he swings the ball over his head.
Steve Hurt points out to me something interesting. Of the American League relief pitchers, the one who's given up the most extra base hits this season, Mark Guthrie. Second, Carl Willis. Fouled away, and the count remains 0-2.
One of the reasons could be that last pitch. You look at Bernie Williams on deck, an 0-2 pitch right down the pipe. Jim, I think your explanation of pitching, even though it could be construed as overly simplistic because you did it so well, is to get ahead and expand the strike zone, and that's not an example of doing that.
The 0-2 to Stanley is outside. 1-2 strike.
But see, when you look at numbers, and you know, Willis is, whether it's Carl or anybody else, when you pitch like almost 56 innings, you've given up 86 hits, you're usually not making very good pitches. And again, can you put them away? You get ahead of them. We missed about like 16 inches on that pitch.
Half swing, got him swinging.
Appeared to be a split finger fastball that just tumbles. And that's what you want. Again, you get ahead, 1-2 strike, drop down, give the hitter another look. And Matt Wahlbeck right there to make a nice grab for strike 3.
In a sense, there is an art form to making the pitch look good enough out of the strike zone to entice a swing. It's different from a waste pitch, but that last pitch looked good but wasn't.
Bernie Williams at the plate. With 2 on and 2 out, takes a strike. 0-1. O'Neill the runner at third, and Mattingly at first. 10-4 Minnesota in the 8th inning. One and one. Two balls, 1 strike on Bernie Williams.
A lot of at-bats are determined early in the count, and that's why all pitching coaches say stay ahead, stay ahead, stay ahead. When you fall behind the hitter, then the hitter has a better idea of what's coming.
And he falls behind now, 3-1.
So that's a very good point, because the one thing you don't want to be as a pitcher is predictable. Right here, perfect example. 3 balls and 1 strike. Bernie Williams has the luxury, because he doesn't have to swing at this pitch, to look for something hard out over the plate, make it be a strike, and have a good swing. Put the Yankees right back in this game.
Good pitch on the outer half.
They took something off it, and you know, there are pitchers that can do that. I mean, some pitchers are very adept at changing speeds. Really doesn't matter what the count is. Not just a running fastball. It looked appeared to draw a little bit off the plate.
3-2. Mattingly will take off with the pitch from first, and it's grounded to the left side. Nears to Herbeck on the side is the side. After 7.5, Minnesota 10, and the Yankees 4. And a pretty shot, Minneapolis on this midsummer evening. 10-4, the Twins lead. We've been talking about the Yankees for the most part tonight, and the great baseball they've been playing. Strangely, this season, George Steinbrenner, their principal owner, has been probably quieter than he's been maybe ever, and I'm wondering if there's a correlation between that and the way the team has been playing. What do you think?
Well, you certainly think so. I would think you'd have to be very pleased with the way Buck Showalter and the Yankees as a whole have performed. I mean, 31 games over 500 coming into this game, coming off a year where they won 88 games, and looks like they're going to improve. Best club I have seen in the American League this year.
Paul Gibson comes in to pitch in the bottom of the 8th inning, and Chuck Knobloch fouls one off down the right field line. What do you think, Tim?
I think he has an awful lot of confidence in Buck Showalter. And I think George has changed a bit. I really do. I think his lower profile over the last 3 or 4 years, since the suspension in 1990. That was a year, by the way, that the Yankees had the worst record. They only won 67 games that year. Worst record since 1913. And eat a little humble pie, and as the Yankees have for the last couple of years, and it makes it that much sweeter when you do come back and are successful. I just think Buck Showalter is such a positive force in this organization. And MacArthur used to say that chance favors a prepared man, and as Jim said, nobody is more prepared to win ball games than Buck Showalter.
It's funny, though, the way you can't win everybody over. I mean, people are looking to pick apart everything, and now the only criticism you seem to hear about the Yankees is that they're not exciting enough. They're too dull. They're too workmanlike. They're too businesslike. I mean, that's really reaching.
I was talking to Jim Leyritz, who has done a terrific job as a part-time DH and catcher, and I said, "You're the only guy with a personality, and you're not playing tonight." He said, "Well, I'll be down in the bullpen."
Knobloch loops one into shallow center. Kelly goes out and makes the catch. Update time. Here's John.
All right, Al, let's check New York's other team. Perez here gives up the wild pitch. Todd Hundley comes in to score. The Mets get within 1. It's a 4-3 game. Then Ryan Thompson, with the bases loaded, strikes out at the pitch in the dirt. So that's where they stand right now, 4-3 in that contest at Shea Stadium, that game in the 8th inning. Greg Maddux with another terrific game. 3 hits through 8 innings. Get some help here from Belliard, who makes a great throw over here to first to get Boone. And then strikes out Barry Larkin, who just freezes on this one. Stanton came in the 9th. He's allowed a couple of base runners. So Wohlers is on now. The Braves nursing a 2-0 lead in the 9th inning. Let's get back to the Metrodome.
Thank you, John. And you just saw Alex Cole hit a soft liner to Mike Gallego for the second out. 2 down, bases empty in the bottom of the 8th inning. And Kirby Puckett with a home run, a double, and 3 runs batted in comes up. Just a postscript on Steinbrenner. We were talking about how relatively quiet he's been. He's also been relatively quiet in terms of the strike. And he is in a funny position in a way because he is the last guy who really needs revenue sharing. I mean, he gets hurt more than anybody. But, you know, for the good of baseball, they're going to have to do something along those lines. That's grounded to the left side. And it's a 1-2-3 inning as Gallego takes care of Puckett. So we'll go to the 9th with Minnesota up by 6.
By a Honda Accord D.
733 homers with the Braves. He hit the other 22 as a Brewer. That's the all-time record for one team. Which 2 players hit 100 or more home runs for each of 3 different teams? We'll have the answer after the first batter here in the 9th inning. 2 players with 100 or more homers for each of 3 different teams as Darrell Boston pinch hits for Gallego to lead off the 9th inning.
I got to go with Reggie Jackson, one of them.
Well, I don't think he was with Baltimore long enough.
No, he wasn't. Only 1 year.
Well, that's right. Maybe with the Angels. You're right.
Yeah,
I think, yeah.
Might have been.
Eagles, Yankees, A's. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And of course, it doesn't have to be modern day.
But it probably is.
Maybe, yeah, could be true.
It's grounded to the left side, and Mears goes Boston out.
The time's tight. I'm going to say Frank Robbins.
How about Dave Kingman? All right, let's take a look here. Here are the answers. And Darrell Evans.
Wow.
I never would have guessed that.
No.
You know, you think about him as a Brave and as a Giant. You forget he spent a long time with the Tigers as well. 141 home runs with Detroit.
I am hitting 500. I am related to Paul O'Neill. And I'm very happy about it. Here's Mr. Personality, Jim Blairitz.
Jim Blairitz. Blairitz wraps one to right field, and Munoz makes the catch in the middle of the warning track. 2 down. Baseball Night in America is being brought to you by Oldsmobile and your local Oldsmobile retailers. Michelin, so much is riding on your tires. And Budweiser, Beechwood Age, for a crisp, clean, classic taste. You know, I meant that as a compliment. That
I know, yeah.
But O'Neill may not take it as one.
Probably not. I'm getting riddled up here tonight.
Here's Polonia. Takes a strike. So the Twins are an out away from ending the Yankee winning streak at 8.
And see it now. Why are you wearing that Kevlar vest? Well, I'm going to work with Al Michaels tomorrow night. Oh, yes.
Pass swing, and it's a strike. And the count is 0-2. Well, boys, we'll reconvene perhaps next week, or maybe we won't. Baseball Night in America returns next Saturday if there is baseball.
Yeah, for the fans' sake, I tell you what, they pay the freight. I certainly hope we're working next Saturday, and I hope the players all across this country are playing.
By the way, there was no movement today. John Saunders talked about that when we came on the air tonight.
Too much to do and too little time to do it. That's why there is no way, in my view, that the players will not walk on Friday.
Sounds like a good title for a song, doesn't it?
1-2 pitch is outside. 2-2 on Luis Polonia. Carl Willis trying to wrap up the win for Pat Mahomes. It would be his 9th. And the loss will go to Melito Perez, who will go to 9-4. Off Willis's leg. Knobloch chases it down but has no play. It'll be an infield single for Polonia, his 2nd hit of the night. Ten hits for the Yanks, but none for Wade Boggs, who comes up 0 for 3 plus a walk. Tonight's Chevrolet player of the game is Kirby Puckett, who hit this home run in the 1st inning, followed with a 2-run double, was 2 for 4, 3 runs batted in. Chevy contributing a total of $50,000 to the Boys and Girls Clubs of America in the names of all players of the game this season. Pitch outside, ball 1 to Wade Boggs. 1-0. We talked about that approach of throwing enough strikes to get him to swing at balls. Not this guy. Carl Willis is going to have to throw the ball over. I'd be very surprised if he chases a bad pitch. Fouled away. You know how hot the Yankees have been? I think it sums it up best of all. The Orioles right now are leading 5-0 in the 8th inning at Milwaukee. If they win and the Yankees lose, the Orioles will gain a game on the Yanks. It'll be the first time since the 9th of July. Wow. That's 4 weeks that the Orioles have picked up a game on the Yankees on any given day.
Before the All-Star game.
Yep. That's right. It was a Saturday the 9th of July. 2-1. As a matter of fact, if Lee Smith does not blow that save on Sunday afternoon, the Yankees lost that day. The Orioles would have actually gone into the break with a half-a-game lead. Turned out Mark McGwire hit a home run, and that's the last time the Orioles have been close. 3-1 on Wade Boggs. 10-4 Twins, 2 out of the 9th inning. O'Neill, who has 3 hits, on deck. And Boggs walks, so O'Neill comes up with a chance for the cycle because he has a single, a double, and a home run. In his other at-bat, he hit into a double play. Polonia at second and Boggs at first with 2 out of the 9th inning. And the Twins bullpen stirs around again, and it figures to be Aguilera, and it is. Ball 1. There's most definitely an influence of Wade Boggs on these Yankees hitter. Mattingly walking more than ever. O'Neill come in tonight, 66 walks, on base percentage, almost 46% of the time, which is amazing. That's grounded down to Herbeck. And Kent does it himself, and the Twins beat the Yankees 10-4. Well, a big night for the crowd of 27,332 to watch the Twins win. They see home runs by Puckett, Herbeck, Mack, and Munoz. Mahomes gets the win, and the Yankee winning streak ends at 8. Twins win it by a score of 10-4.